Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever signed a contract without fully reading it? Have you ever wondered what actually happens when a business breaks the law? Or how companies get away with, or get caught for, misleading advertising? If you run a business, work for one, or plan to start one someday, the legal landscape around you is constantly shaping your options, your risks, and your rights. And most people have no idea how any of it works. That changes today. This playlist is a complete walkthrough of Business Law 1 Essentials, and by the time you finish every video in this series, you will understand how the American legal system operates, how businesses interact with it every single day, and how to protect yourself, your career, and your organization from legal pitfalls that catch people off guard all the time. Let me give you a quick overview of every chapter we are covering so you know exactly what is ahead. Chapter 1 is called American Law, Legal Reasoning, and the Legal System. This is your foundation. We break down where laws actually come from, how courts interpret them, and how legal reasoning works in practice. Think of this as learning the rules of the game before you start playing. Chapter 2 covers disputes and dispute settlement. Not every legal conflict ends up in a courtroom drama. We explore the different ways disputes get resolved, from negotiation and mediation to arbitration and litigation, and why businesses increasingly prefer to settle things before a judge ever gets involved. Chapter 3 is business ethics and social responsibility. The law sets a floor for behavior, but ethics asks us to aim higher. This chapter looks at how businesses make moral decisions, what corporate social responsibility actually means in practice, and why companies that ignore this topic often pay a steep price, legally and reputationally. Chapter 4 dives into business and the United States Constitution. The Constitution is not just a document for politicians, it directly affects how businesses operate. We look at commerce clauses, free speech protections for companies, due process rights, and how federal and state powers divide up regulatory authority. Chapter 5 tackles criminal liability. Yes, businesses and their executives can face criminal charges. From fraud and embezzlement to environmental crimes and cybercrime, this chapter lays out how criminal law applies in a business context, and what the consequences can look like when things go seriously wrong. Chapter 6 introduces the tort system. A tort is a civil wrong that causes harm, and businesses face tort claims constantly. Whether it is a slip and fall at a retail store, a defective product that injures a customer, or a negligence claim from a client, understanding torts is essential for anyone operating in the business world. Chapter 7 gets into contract law, and this one is enormous. Contracts are the backbone of every business relationship. We cover how contracts are formed, what makes them valid or invalid, what happens when someone breaks a contract, and what remedies are available. This is information you will use for the rest of your professional life. Chapter 8 focuses on sales contracts specifically. Building on general contract law, this chapter digs into the rules that govern the sale of goods under the Uniform Commercial Code. If your business buys or sells physical products, you need to understand how these specialized rules differ from standard contract principles. Chapter 9 covers employment and labor law. Hiring, firing, workplace safety, discrimination, wages, unions. The employment relationship is one of the most heavily regulated areas in all of business law. This chapter gives you a clear picture of what employers can and cannot do, and what rights employees are protected by. Chapter 10 examines government regulation. Businesses do not operate in a vacuum. Federal and state agencies regulate everything from food safety to financial services to environmental impact. This chapter helps you understand how regulatory agencies work, how they enforce rules, and how businesses can navigate compliance without losing their minds. Chapter 11 is all about antitrust law. This is the law that keeps markets competitive and prevents any single company from dominating an industry unfairly. We look at landmark antitrust cases, what behaviors trigger antitrust scrutiny, and why this area of law is more relevant than ever in the age of big tech and global corporations. Chapter 12 covers unfair trade practices and the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC exists to protect consumers and competition from deceptive and anti-competitive behavior. From false advertising to data privacy violations, this chapter explains what counts as an unfair trade practice and how the FTC enforces the rules. Chapter 13 takes us into international law. Business today is global, and the legal rules change the moment you cross a border. This chapter introduces the frameworks that govern international trade, how disputes between businesses in different countries get resolved, and what treaties and agreements shape the global marketplace. Chapter 14 wraps up the series with securities regulation. If a company wants to raise money from the public by selling stocks or bonds, there are very strict rules about how that is done. We look at the role of the Securities and Exchange Commission, what counts as securities fraud, and why insider trading laws exist and how they are enforced. Now here is what you are going to be able to do after completing this entire playlist. You will be able to read and understand basic contracts before you sign them. You will know your rights and your responsibilities as an employee or an employer. You will recognize when a business practice crosses a legal or ethical line. You will understand how government agencies regulate industries and what that means for day-to-day operations. You will have the vocabulary and the conceptual foundation to communicate confidently with lawyers, compliance teams, and business partners. And perhaps most importantly, you will think more critically about how law and business intersect in the real world, because they always do, whether you notice it or not. This series is built around Business Law 1 Essentials, so whether you are a student working through a course, a professional looking to sharpen your knowledge, or someone who simply wants to be a more informed participant in the business world, every single video in this playlist was made for you. Here's what I need from you right now. Hit that subscribe button so you do not miss a single chapter as we release them. Click the bell icon to get notified the moment a new video drops. And if you find this series useful, share it with someone who could benefit, a classmate, a colleague, a friend who is starting a business. Good information shared widely does a lot of good. We are starting with Chapter 1 right after this, and trust me, once you understand how the American legal system actually works and how legal reasoning operates, everything else in this series is going to click into place so much faster. Let's get started.